When I went to bed the other night, when my head hit the pillow, a bizarre question popped into my head, which plagued me for the rest of the night. And it was, who would be the modern day movie Brats? And it got me thinking, because this isn't a question that I've seen try to be answered before. So, in this video, I'm going to try and tackle that question. See who in today's day and age would be labelled as the modern day movie Brats. Okay, just a quick history lesson for those who don't know, I guess. The movie Brats is a term coined by Pauline Kael and refers to a group of emerging filmmakers in the late 1960s to 70s. It was around this time that cinema was in a weird spot. The studio and industrialized format of Hollywood was kind of running thin, with the type of movies being produced in the mainstream began coming off as repetitive and generic. This time period is often reminisced of as an extremely transformative phase for movies, because as audiences began wanting more from the art form, 5 young visionaries began emerging from the streets of America, each with their own unique visions for what cinema could do. These names included Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, and Steven Spielberg, aka some of the most influential, successful, and celebrated filmmakers to ever live. These 5 were referred to as the movie Brats, for their shared love for cinema, young ages, and unique visions. 1, 2, skip a few years, they all have multiple iconic films to their name. And when I mean iconic, I mean like genuinely life-changing, industry-changing pieces of work. Multiple each. And here we are now. There is a bit more, but that's about the gist of it. And so this got me thinking, are movies not just the same right now? Like, I can't speak for the 60s, but are movies basically not the same right now? Unoriginality is spreading like wildfire. Almost every single mainstream film is either a remake or a sequel. And so I think it's only a matter of time before a new batch of young filmmakers come to turn things around for the industry, just like we've seen before. And so that's what this video is about. Who I think will be the top contenders for the modern day movie Brats, if that makes sense. And now, just a disclaimer, these aren't unknown names. These are just the people who I think are currently veering us around in the right direction for movies. And they all started around about the same time, so I guess that works out as well. Starting off with... Greta Gerwig is probably the first name that came to mind for me. Aside from her ginormous smash hit in Barbie, she's also had 2 other films that were widely successful and that I also love a lot. I believe she deserves a spot here because her films have extremely universal appeal. And now with a billion-dollar movie under her belt that deals with multiple themes of morality, identity, gender hierarchy, self-worth, femininity, and masculinity, just to name a few, I think that she has the potential to flip the industry on its head. Ever since her breakout in 2017, I think she's constantly flown under the radar with how inspiring and creative her films are. The fact she's bringing such powerful and relevant themes into her work while maintaining popularity, I think is great and is what the industry needs now more than ever. Aside from her directorial efforts, she's also acted in films like Isle of Dogs by Wes Anderson, who is also a contender for being in this list, Mike Mills' 20th Century Women, and Frances Ha, directed by Noah Baumbach, who is another name that I did think of for this video, for which she also co-wrote. She also writes all of her films, which proves how passionate she is about movies. All that being said, I think she deserves a spot here. Now moving on to my number 2 pick. Damien Chazelle is not only my second selection for this list, but also someone who's grown to be in my top 5 directors of all time. Even though I have not seen his full filmography yet, all 3 of his films that I have seen are in like my top 50 ever. 2 are in my top 15, if not top 10. So yeah, if that tells you anything. Moving on though, his style and eye is arguably the most unique and recognizable we've seen come out of the past just over a decade. Despite the fact that his most recent film was one of the biggest flops in history, as well as super divisive and controversial among both film critics and audiences in recent memory, I still think people want to see what he's got in him next. I think the overwhelmingly positive reception of both Whiplash and La La Land have kept public perception on his side. Aside from that though, like I said, his flair is super unique and forward-pushing. The music is incredible, but that's not really important. I think that where Greta Gerwig belongs in here is because of her inspiring themes. Damien Chazelle belongs here for his inspirational eye for filmmaking. His work contributes a lot to how I want my films in the future to look and sound. So yeah, Damien Chazelle, incredible catalogue, Great knack for the art, and it clearly coming from a place of love and passion and wanting to see it return to its traditional form. My third pick for a seat at the table goes to Jordan Peele. I think Jordan Peele is by far the best modern horror filmmaker, and I personally think that his potential in other genres is crazy as well. I mean, we already know he's a fantastic comedian. Even though I have not gone into his Key and Peele skits in the slightest, I know a lot of people love them and hold them dear, and I'm assuming they're pretty funny. But going back to the filmmaking quickly, he's one of the only modern directors who I think young people know the name of and know the films of. I know people at my school who aren't that into film and don't keep up with it, yet know him and would go to see a new film that's in the cinemas just because his name is attached to it. I honestly think that's enough to warrant a spot here. He's also got a lot of the thematic relevancy that Greta Gerwig does, as his films go into the struggles and oppressions of the modern day African American community. Even though he does, like the last two people I talked about, go for quality over quantity, I think he's built enough of a resume to be able to be excited about what he's got loaded up. One thing I do wish for in the future, though, is if he could just expand a bit more out of horror, then that'd be great. But I think for now, he's definitely got what it takes to be considered a part of this group. Robert Eggers is pretty similar to Jordan Peele as to why I believe he belongs here. Despite me not knowing that much about him or his films, I do know that he's got one of the most creative visions and styles in the game today. From the very first frame of one of his films, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. He's known for his dark and gloomy cinematography, often incorporating centuries worth of mythology and folktale and turning those stories into a modern cinematic format. I know that every time a film by him is announced, there is tons of anticipation for it. With a consistent style, the backing of his critical and commercial success, and how meticulous he is with what project he chooses to direct, I do think he's got the potential to be considered as one of the best filmmakers of the century, as well as inspiring countless others with his unique techniques. He's tackled multiple genres, multiple time periods, but yet keeping what makes him special throughout each film. With time, I think his place in this list is only going to be solidified. And for my final pick of the modern day movie Brats, I've gone with the Daniels. The Daniels duo, made up of Daniel Scheinert and Daniel Kwan, are two of the most likable and creative guys in the industry today. Coming off the back of an Oscar win for their enormous hit Everything Everywhere All at Once, they've done a bit of work in TV and announced another feature scheduled for sometime next year. But I think the impact of their two major films have already qualified them for this list. It's easy to understate just how big Everything Everywhere All at Once was. It topped the Letterboxd 250 list for a month and a half on its opening weeks, overthrowing films like The Godfather, Seven Samurai, 12 Angry Men, Schindler's List, all three Lord of the Rings films. Absolutely ginormous masterpieces that have stood decades, all beaten by this one weird film about bagels and googly eyes. It's taken a bit of a tumble since then, but still sitting at the 186th best movie ever made is majorly impressive. As well as grossing $144 million on a $25 million budget, 7 Oscars. Yeah, this movie was a big one. As well as their film before that, Swiss Army Man. Both of these films demonstrate extremely creative and ambitious mindsets that people are all for. Their films strike an emotional chord with young people as well as unique artistic visions, which is why they're here. So there they are. That's my 5. Tell me in the comments who you'd consider for this set of 5 filmmakers, if I got it right or wrong. I want to know your thoughts because this is a question that I feel like it'd be pretty interesting to answer. And yeah, that is it. Over and out.